Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for joining me for the 6th week of TOEFL IBT writing section. Inshallah, we will start the lesson and let's see what I have planned for you for this week. So this week I will do a review of your homework because we have started writing more typically for TOEFL IBT. After reviewing your homework, I'm ready to give a little bit more feedback. Then after that, we will continue with practicing, and then lastly, we will go to the homework. So for homework, I had very little submission, as I've been asking you for the last couple of weeks. Please do participate in the homework. Take it seriously. You have made a commitment to enroll. I assume that you want to improve your writing, reading, listening, and speaking skills, and be ready, inshallah, for the official TOEFL IBT test. Week 5's submission was very few, and I encourage you to encourage each other to keep on submitting, and I will do my best to check and provide you feedback. So what I've done is I have picked up one of the essay that one of the students submitted. I will not naming the student, and if the student is with us live, you don't need to identify yourself. This is just a learning journey. By no means, I do not mean to target the students, but I think sometimes we learn from others, from our own mistake. So this essay was written by one of the students, and it's said, in the digital age, targeted advertising has become a common marketing strategy. It uses your personal information, such as research history and online behavior, to display ads that it is most relevant to users, while some people believe that it is very it is a very beneficial way to, for instance, if you use targeted advertising, you will not spend too much your time and money out. And instead of going and bargains for price or giving rent, it's better choice. Furthermore, whatever you want, you will find it very easy way in targeted advertising, and you can choose very good things among other things, so you can get on sale as well. However, others argue that targeted marketing is ridiculous. For example, companies collect a lot of personal data to show targeted ads, follow you everywhere online, which can be irritating while you are using your phone or a computer. In conclusion, while target ads can be very useful, but also can be too risky related to privacy and fairness. So I'm reading exactly what I received, and as you can see yourself, and there are mistakes. This only got a pass mark based on my rubrics that I used for every student. So the next slide that I'm going to share with you is an improved version of this. So this slide is a portion of my feedback, not all. A portion, because if I just talk about all of my feedback, when are we going to actually do a little bit of more work. So as I mentioned, the score was just a pass at 2.5, maybe a 2.5 to 3, just a fair but limited. So in my feedback, I did mention uh, that the student has mentioned both sides, the benefit and the risk, but the opinion is not really clear. The response feels more like a summary than a contribution to discussions. To score higher, the student should take res- a clear stance and mention that I agree with the advertisement and give the benefit, or I disagree and outline some points. For the support and the development, some examples are provided, like saving time, finding bargain, sales, but they are not really well explained. Remember, the assessor, the examiner, the reader doesn't know your mind. So you really need to elaborate. And sometimes unclear. And instead of going and bargain for price or giving rent, that was a very weak reason. The second paragraph about privacy concerns is more like a list than an analysis. The student should really connect ideas to insight, such as comparing convenience versus privacy risk. In terms of organization, the essay is not really well structured, transitions are missing or used incorrectly, while instead of however was used. Ideas jumps without smoothing, not going smoothly from one point to the next. For example, the first paragraph mixes time saving, rent, bargains, and sales without linking them clearly. In terms of the language, frequent grammar issues like display ads that is most relevant. You will not spend too much your time. Other things, vocabularies is limited and sometimes inaccurate. Ridiculous instead of ridiculous. Giving rent is unclear. Errors sometimes affect the meaning and therefore making it very difficult for a reader to follow. The length of the essay was within the range, so that was fine. But for the students, I provided more. Here, I'm only giving bare minimum. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to expose you to a same essay, but has been written for a score of 5. So this is the revised. Same essay, in my opinion. Targeted advertising is a useful marketing strategy because it saves both time and money for consumers. And instead of searching through many websites or visiting stores, users can quickly see products that match their interest. For example, if I am looking for affordable shoes, targeted ads may immediately show my discounts or sale, which helps me make faster and smarter choice. In addition, targeted ads allows people to compare different opinions, different options easily and find good quality items without wasting energy. However, some people worry about the risk. Companies collect large amount of personal information to create these ads, which can feel invasive. Constant tracking of online behavior may also raise concern about privacy and fairness. In conclusion, although targeted advertising has some drawbacks, I believe its advantages, such as saving time, finding bargain, and accessing better products, makes it a very beneficial tool for consumers. So this is the exact essay that was reworded. Still, it's not perfect, but the idea here is to make that essay a better version. So having said so, now let's move for this week. Since now we have started and you did your uh, first homework on academic discussion, I've decided to continue with academic discussion. This time, give you examples and then give you homework on the same topic. And inshallah, you will be using this to improve. And I should say that few students did get the full mark. So well done. So this week, for the example, your professor is teaching a class on education. Write a post responding to the professor's questions. In your response, you should express and support your personal opinion, make a contribution to discussions in your own words. An effective response will contain at least 100 words. What does the professor say? The professor says that in class today, we are going to talk about grading students. Before you come to class, I want you to think about whether grades are beneficial. On one hand, they provide a way to measure a student's progress. On the other hand, some argue that grades are too focused on performance and don't provide an accurate picture of a student's overall academic ability. If you had to choose, would you say that the students should be given grades or not? Why? One of the students, Leila, says, I think that the student should not be given grades. Grades creates a needlessly competitive environment and can make students feel like they are only valued for their academic performance. When students feel like grades are the most important thing, they get discouraged. And instead of giving specific grades, teachers should provide personal feedback that helps the students understand what they need to improve and how they can do so. I think that approach leads to more academic success. Jake and other students says, I believe that grades are the only way for students to understand how well they are going and the only way to motivate them to work harder. Without grades, there would be no way to measure their progress or to identify areas where they need to improve. Moreover, grades provides students for the real world where they will be judged based on their performance. The only way for adults to advance in their career is to consistently perform well, and grading children prepares them for that. So this is the main question. This is not an essay. Now let's see the example that I'm going to provide you. How do you feel about each and every one of them? Example 1. While I appreciate Layla's point of view, I believe that children should be given grades on regular basis. Even though kids want to improve academically and grades help them to do so, remember that the students are aware that they must develop strong academic skills if they want to achieve their goals in life. Grades indicate the current level of their skills and tell them whether or not they should change how they approach their studies. For instance, a student who has received a fantastic grade in maths and a poor grade in science will know to spend more of his free studying science. free time. I sorry. In contrast, a student who hasn't gotten any grade will have no idea what to focus on. Essay number two. While this is certainly a controversial topic, I don't think a student should be graded. I strongly agree with Leila's idea that grades can create an overly competitive environment and may not accurately reflect a student's progress. I would add that grades can lead to focus on test taking strategies rather than actual learning. And as a result, students may not fully engage with the material. This means they could lack key knowledge that they will need when they move on to the next stage of their academic life. Jack raised the relevant point that grades are the only way to identify the specific areas where students are weak. But he didn't mention that teachers can study samples of their students' work to find their weakness without actually grading the work. For example, they could look at a student's essay, see that he is weak when it comes to grammar, and tell that to that person. Let's go to number three. I agree with Leila. It's persuasive that a student perspective that the student should not be given grades. Grades often create a stressful competitive environment that prioritizes performance over learning. This focus can lead students to associate their self-worth with numerical scores, discouraging those who struggle and hindering their overall academic growth. Personal feedback, as Leila suggests, is a more effective approach. It allows teachers to highlight students' strength and address their weakness, constructively fostering a deeper understanding of the material. This method encourages students to focus on improvement rather than comparison, leading to more meaningful and lasting academic success. My last example, essay number 4. I agree with Jake perspective that grades are essential for students. Grades provide a clear and measurable way to track progress, helping a student understand their strengths and areas needing improvement. They also serve as a motivation, pushing students to work harder and achieve their goals. Furthermore, grades prepare students for the realities of the professional world where the performance evaluation determine advancement. Without grades, students may lack a structured way to gauge their efforts and readiness for future challenges. While feedback is important, grades offer a concise summary of performance, making them indispensable in education. Notice I only provided you very short essay because my aim was to provide a different version that as a student you may feel writing. This is none of them are the perfect. I also did not give scores on these ones. If you wanted to practice an essay on this, maybe towards the end we might consider doing this as an activity, or if you have a spare time you wanted to do it your own writing but aiming for a better score, you can do so, but that was exposing you to academic writing and giving you 4 examples on one scenario. So for this week, this is your scenario. Website reliability. Your professor is teaching a class on research techniques. Write a post regarding the professor's questions. In your response, you should express and support your opinion. Make a contribution to the discussions in your own word, please. Don't go and rewrite it. That is the biggest problem, which was lacking and in what I saw in your work. Make sure, and now for you guys, I'm making it between 100 to 150. So you really push yourself and practice a little bit better. While in reality, your essay will be 100. So maybe towards the end, if we will also do an 100 one, but majority of time, I'm trying to get you to write lengthier essay to encourage you with your vocabularies, writing style, and so on. So what does the professor say for your homework? Next week, we're going to discuss the best way to determine if a website or article is reliable. Notice 2 point: website or article that you are going to be mentioning. There are many factors to consider in order to ensure that your essay are supported by reliable sources, meaning that when you're writing your essay, you might be reading, you might be using materials, information from websites and articles. That's what they're talking about. Before we meet, so this is pre-work for the class. From a scenario point of view, I want you to consider the following question. This is the main point. What do you think is the most effective way to assess whether a website or article can be trusted? So the key point is, are you going to be going for both, or are you going to be choosing one? You need to have evidence. And like the last scenario that I shared with you, and the one that you did your homework, here also two students are having their opinions. Laura says, I think the best way is to look for a strong evidence and sources. A reliable article should cite credible studies, data, or expert opinion. If the author claims are are backed by verifiable information and come from a trustworthy institution like a university or academic publisher, it's a good sign that the website or the article can be trusted. So Laura agrees that there's no competition between article and website, but she's emphasizing that it has to come from a proper source and it needs to have proper referencing. So then you could have confidence that I can use this one. Caleb and other students says, I believe the author's credibility is the most important. If the writer has expertise or professional experience related to the topic, it's more likely the content is accurate. That's his opinion. We can't say he's wrong. For instance, I trust articles written by scientists about health topics more than random blogs. Checking the author's background is crucial first step. So there's a lot of information in this, and I'll try to read it for you, and I try to point you with some key points. So you're going to be using slide number 12 to do your homework. Very similar, I've asked. Use the information. Oh, so I need to edit this. So use slide number 12 to write your academic discussions, 100 to 150 word, and submit it by Friday to my email. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back And if you have any questions, we will chat and we will talk. I will stop the recording.